Hi everyone, I'm Rajat and I'm the Chief Evangelist of Nature and Thought. We offer supplements that are based on accountable science, and through this channel, we want to spark your curiosity about health. Today, on the eve or closer to Mother's Day, we're actually talking to a mother, a corporate, working lady, women. She is into corporate research. Their brand does consumer behavior and research in consumer, different consumer aspects, and being an expert on mother and child and a lot of different aspects of women's health, we thought it was extremely relevant to talk to Priya Lobo. So let me welcome her to our channel here. Hi, Priya.
Hey Rajat, how are you doing?
Doing good. I want to first tell you, like I told you when we were just talking a few seconds ago, that you are looking stunning, young, at least. I don't know. I don't want to say 20 years also because I don't want to put a cap on your thing, but just saying, I don't know what you're doing. Please share it with us. But you look
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good. Sleep.
Ah,
That's my
perfect.
focus. That's the best thing that one can do. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, Priya, tell me, just tell, in case I butchered your introduction, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So a lot of my friends call me the CEO mom.
Hmm.
And this was suddenly when somebody mentioned, I said, oh man, that's a great title to have. But for the last 30 years, I have been working in the space of consumer understanding and behavior and across categories. And but a special interest is understanding the mom and kid equation.
Hmm.
And I find fascinating because over a period of time, things evolve, things change. And it's interesting to see how the mom and the kid have evolved, right? The relationship
Yeah.
and the societal norms. And that's of special interest to me. And I think that journey started when I became a mom as well.
So, was this an interest that you developed after becoming a mom yourself?
No, I studied child psychology
Oh,
and I
wow.
was
I
quite,
didn't.
yes, and I was very keen to understand the milestones and the developmental milestones. I'd always heard it, and I did a lot of children research. But when my daughter was born, Tahira, I realized that you're in so close quarters with what's happening, and that really helped me develop the sensibility to do a lot of my work,
Hmm.
develop that understanding as well. And we take so much for granted, and I think develop new skills as you become a mother, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah.
No, fantastic. So the CEO mom is in the house, guys. It's fascinating. I absolutely had no idea you had actually studied child psychology. That's fascinating. I can think of so many more things we got to talk about, Priya, in the
Yeah.
future. So, what has been, I would say, I mean, it's a very cliched question, but I'm sure you're going to put an amazing spin at it. Is what in your experience has been your biggest challenge of being a working mother?
That's a deep one because I think when you're working, you also learn how to adapt, you learn how to take things in your stride. And I would attribute this success in the frame of mind to my gynecologist, Dr. Noza Sheria. He told me one thing: Priya, don't try and be a super mom. And that stayed with me because I said, why is he telling me that? Possibly, there's always the need to, sab kuch, everything should be nice in the house, everything should be perfect. And I realized that that's not the case. It's not possible. You're a human being. It's not possible to do all of that.
Yeah.
And I think that journey was very important for my own personality.
Hmm.
And for me as an individual to recognize I can't do everything. There'll be days when I'll be sloppy. There'll be days when things are not going okay. And that's fine because my child will appreciate that I'm a human being, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's a moment of truth for me in this journey.
Yeah. No, that is, you started with saying so deep, but you put it so simply, and it is so important. And here I'm thinking, does Priya take classes in, how to not be a super mom? And I mean that in the best way possible,
Yeah,
because I can see so much of what you just unfolded.
yeah,
Like I said, very succinctly, to be such an important lesson for so many of us. We are constantly trying to be that superhuman. Because being a mom itself is being superhuman, by the way.
yeah.
Because you created something, you got it out, and there's so many different types of mothers, by the way, and irrespective,
Mm.
they all, I feel, have superhuman strength, superhuman, just skills in general, and knowing where to draw that line becomes so important, right?
In fact, I could share with you later that 2019, with another friend, I did a podcast with her and I called it the perfectly imperfect mom. And you realize that this is what society wants you to be. And there was another study that we did. So I said, it's becoming the perfect mom, perfect child syndrome.
Hmm.
And therefore, there is a lot of anxiety, right? There is no end to it. Unless one steps back and says, it's all right. This is how it's going to be. This works for me. This works for my family. This works for my child.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that's a big one. Yeah, for all of us.
No, absolutely. So Priya, another very deep one, right? How do you define motherhood? So it's a challenge for you to now do that in the same succinct way that you did the previous one.
I think motherhood is it's a choice. Motherhood is a responsibility. And today I would say that it is something that one has to think about before one decides to get into it.
Hmm.
And I'm okay if people don't want to be. Yeah. But with that comes a responsibility. And you started off by saying it's a responsibility.
Yeah.
And along with that comes a lot of reading. Along with that comes with a lot of introspection. But I would
Yeah.
just want to say that motherhood is being a human being first.
Hmm.
Yeah. And only then you can give, only if you love yourself and you can give so much to yourself that you can give to another human being. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what motherhood is.
Yeah. No, that is so true. And I love the fact that you also acknowledged the fact that it is a choice, right?
Yes.
And trust me, I mean, I always wanted to be a mom, but my idea of being a mom was so different from the reality of what being a mom is. I think I would have had at least three kids if I'd not gone through the experience once, right?
Yes.
A lot, and it's a lot of responsibility for sure. So it's a big
And I
decision.
want to add more to that because you spoke about responsibility, and while I was preparing for this conversation with you, uh, there was something that I picked up, and there is this lady who said that when you become a mother, you said I wanted to be a mom. There was a lot of joy and the fun of it, and then when it really happens, you actually get stripped of that fun, right?
Yeah,
It almost becomes chores and drudgery and busyness.
yeah,
And therefore, she says that we need to include play and flow in our life.
yeah, yeah,
So almost the mom it should be something that somebody does. You need to be a restful mom. You need to be a peaceful mom. You need to have fun. You need to relax. And I think that's a reminder that we all need. Correct?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So if you're asking me what do people need to do, because you're going to be busy, there could be people around you who who the play and flow has to happen. And I think that's so important for us. Yeah.
yeah,
As
yeah.
mothers.
No, definitely. I think we can make it a chore if we want it to be, and we can try to make it fun. And it's all going to be fun all the time.
No, it's not going to be. Like, what are the moments of fun that you want to have, right? Or what are
Yeah,
the moments of relaxation that you want to have?
yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Try giving yourself a day of rest, Rajat. I challenge you to this. Come on.
I do. Trust me, I do. Last couple of weeks, no, but otherwise, I do. I have, and I think in this, there's also the whole angle of having an equal partner in
Yeah.
parenting, right?
Yes.
Because being a mom is one process. Sadly, a lot of us, there is no choice biologically. We go through a lot of that journey alone. But
Yes.
once you're a parent, it should be an equal thing, right?
I'm glad you're saying that because I always say, the answer to that motherhood, it's actually we should talk about parenting.
Correct.
Yeah. And I think that's a leap forward. That has to happen because that's not something that is there core to the Indian society, right?
Yeah.
Just beginning to happen. Yeah. Otherwise, that's where the change and the shift is happening the way people are
Yeah.
thinking. Yeah.
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 So tell me, for you,
Yeah.
I'm sure, and maybe I'm not sure, because all of us are so different. But have you ever been guilty, like felt guilty of being a working mom, and how have you navigated like those feelings, if you had those?
I'll be honest, I don't have any guilt because I did have a working mom.
Ah,
I don't think so she had any guilt either, right?
yeah,
Because it was always put in context. We always spent time together. But for me, it was, if it's a responsibility, have I structured my life in a way that, I'm not feeling that, oh, I'm sacrificing so much because of this is happening. I never ever felt that. I felt this was, like I used to tell people right now, 8 9 saal na, think of it is that you're doing it for your child, right? You're doing it for something that you love, and this is the formative years, correct? And I said, fine, I'll pick up the threads when, as the child grows, it requires less of you. And that's when you
yeah,
need to know what's your
yeah,
next leap and your transition. And I think, I'm fortunate because I studied psychology and I studied all of that. And I also had my mom as a role model, and my aunts as role models. So very strong people around, right? So I'm fortunate that way.
yeah.
So I never felt any guilt of any sort. I only felt I could sleep a little more. That there are times when you just get very, very busy. So I said, okay, sleep is a god. Okay, so now how do I get back to that, learning how to, sleep a little more. You've woken up early
Yeah,
and try to manage your work and that. Yeah, only that much. बाकी
yeah,
सब ठीक है.
yeah. Baki sab theek hai. Yeah, it is pretty much that, right? Like this is that, but baki sab is okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Sleep is
yeah,
important.
and tell
I
me,
feel you become sleep deprived
yeah,
at some. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like right now, like I feel like when I've told you that you're looking like, at least 20 years younger, I feel like I'm looking 20 years older because you're right, like that sleep is so important, and that's exactly what I have, because of travel and whatnot. It's been severely compromised. So,
Yes.
it's very relevant the sleep topic for me at this
Yeah.
very moment. Yeah,
No, and
for
actually you're
sure,
doing
Priya.
something fantastic, right? With one of your products, right?
Yeah,
I was just saying that it is important. If you ask me from a health perspective, sleep is so important for us to do so many things. Whether it's also being with your child, especially because you're being a mom and a working mom, right? And that's important.
yeah. So, what's that advice that you would give maybe your younger mom self?
Hmm.
Things that your work, your experience has taught you now, and if you had this information, years ago when you just had your daughter,
Hmm.
what would you go back and tell yourself?
Hmm. I think sometimes you can get lost in your work because that happens to me. I'll be just a little honest. And that's where you have to learn to possibly, there are times when you place work more on priorities, right, than what is happening.
Mhm.
I've never missed anything in terms of events and things like that.
Yeah,
But I would say that maybe at times I just got lost a little in work and said
mm.
that was priority. There's a deadline, and then you lose track of time. So I'm
Yeah,
far more conscious of that now.
yeah,
What am I prioritizing? Have I budgeted for rest?
yeah,
Have I budgeted for just lounging?
yeah,
And I think your child tells you that she's like sometimes she said, "Why are you always doing something? It's a holiday." Yeah, man. So it's good, right? It's good.
Mhm.
I would say that. I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Learn to rest.
Learn to rest. Yeah, and you're right. Learning to rest is something we all need to. And I love how you said it. Budget for it,
Yeah.
right? And I can see, and having worked with you, Priya, also I feel like it's while, and you talked about being a restful mom, like just being a relaxed mom rather,
Yeah.
also being very relaxed about the work aspect also. When you're younger in our careers, we are all a little like, oh my god, you have to do so much, and we just start, I think, relaxing about it as we get older and more
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah.
No, definitely. So tell me, I'm very fascinated, first of all, this whole new angle of child psychology. And I know we may not have enough time to uncover that today, but
Hmm.
using that, or based on, what you do on a day-to-day basis when you do research for so many different brands,
Hmm.
what are your top few things that kind of spring out at you that you'd want to tell, new mothers, existing mothers, whatever that is?
I think we have to. So the whole super mom, helicopter mom, perfect mom, I think it's a very distorted reality of motherhood.
Hmm.
They don't exist, right?
Hmm.
Uh, I feel that as a mother, you have your own instinct and intuitive sense of what's good for your child and for your family.
Yeah.
And if we don't hone in on that, I think we can just get swarmed with what's happening on social media or the anxiety that's around us, right? Because other people are expecting you to be in a particular way. And I think that's the biggest one to handle. And if that's handled, then I think others are, I mean, nothing, I would say. But
Mhm.
that's the most important one. The second one is this whole mom guilt.
Hmm.
I think the guilt comes from one feeling that I'm not spending enough time because you're placing everybody else above your own interests, right? And self worth.
Hmm.
So you basically are a non entity.
Hmm.
And I think that's not good for your child because that's not healthy.
Yeah.
Because he needs to or she needs to see you as a human being with all your flaws, with
Hmm.
all your limitations, right?
Yeah.
And if you're talking about raising a child, for me, raising a child means that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are
Yeah.
the two things. I think those are the two things to put into perspective, I think, for all of us. Yeah.
And what do you think? Like, you talked about your mom's influence
Yeah.
in terms of her being a working mother, and that's why for you none of this was a big deal. If you wouldn't mind maybe sharing something maybe that you borrowed from her, maybe besides that, and what you think your daughter will borrow from you, right, as she grows older.
I think she was super planned and
Hmm.
organized. And not manically because, but she know that if that planning could give you space to sleep, to enjoy, you to do so many other things, correct? Or yeah, and I learned that from her. First, I couldn't understand this whole, as even as a kid, she would say, make a timetable, Priya, for when you're studying. So I said, Pura din, like I used to say, okay, like, these boxes. But then I realized it's such a fabulous, at least to broadly structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and therefore I love planning because it just gives me that much more free time to do other things. And
True.
yeah, and second thing, encourage us to sleep. Um, the third thing was also invest in other activities like reading or poetry or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that was fabulous. And at a time where our parents didn't have all the wherewithal that we have, right, today.
Yeah.
But they were very simple. And I think that's what I've learned from them.
Yeah. And I'm sure she's gonna grow up to be a fantastic human being,
Yeah.
right? And she'll be so proud of everything that you do.
Oh, love.
Um, Priya, any special wishes you'd want to give to all the mothers for Mother's Day?
Yeah, I would say that enjoy every moment with your child. Yeah, and the moment you start doing that, it's just such a liberating experience. It's just the conversations. It's something that I wanted to say. It's something that I learned from, in fact, my daughter's school actually. Very
Hmm.
interesting. Uh, they said just learn how to communicate with your child,
Hmm.
and then they'll keep sharing, and then you like they just keep sharing, and then there is the trust that develops with them, right? Even as they grow older into the teenage phase when they're not talking so much to you, but they're in and out and all of that is fine. But they know that when there is something they can fall back on, talk to
Yeah.
you, communicate with you. And I think that's super important, and I think that is not really the focus for a lot of parents, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and I would say that's super important. That just suddenly came to me, and I thought that was something that we worked on
Yeah.
consciously. We shared about what we were doing, what
Yeah.
I'm going through at times. And
Yeah.
she would also share something that's happening in school.
Yeah.
I think that is important. I think that's important.
Yeah, I think, I mean, what you're saying is so true. So I've started this thing, and I think it falls in line with what you're saying. And I don't know if I'm doing it right, but I read somewhere. So I asked my son, and I've never had to explain this to him, but I asked him to share his rose and his thorn for the day, right?
Huh.
And it just starts a conversation. So things that I would have otherwise never found out about, what's happening, I just
Yeah.
suddenly find out, and now it's just become a ritual that we do at bedtime. Sometimes you do it early morning if you didn't do it at bedtime. And it definitely, and he's younger, of course, much younger than maybe your daughter right now, but I can see, hopefully I'll be able to guide him, like you're saying, towards the
Mm.
right path of communicating.
No, and it'll just happen because you're sharing something about yourself, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
what's happening, or something didn't work out, or same thing would happen in school, or friends or peers, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we also watch something together.
Yeah.
There'll be a favorite program which he's watching, and we all watch that together. We've never said like, no, 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 let's not watch it, or this is not fun. We have one common thing to watch. We find something common to watch, and suddenly we just watch it. Yes, what is this? How but something happens when we're talking. So it's so interesting. It's so interesting, and creating that environment is important. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Priya, for talking to us today. And please let us know how people can get in touch with you for that How to Not Be a Supermom masterclass that we talked about. I think, trust me, a lot of us need that, and it is so important. But yeah, prioritizing sleep, prioritizing communication, and just relaxing, and budgeting all of that into your day. I think those are all fantastic takeaways for us.
Super. I'm glad I could shed some light on motherhood.
Yeah, absolutely. You did. You did shed a lot of light. So thank you again. And thank you, all of you, for listening.